Okay, I am back for part 3 here, which is trigonometry for solving unknown angles. And a shout out to my man Jacob for his like on my video there. Thanks, buddy. So just to return to what we know, okay? Our 3 ratios. It's always going to come back to our 3 ratios. Our sine of an angle is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Our cosine of an angle is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And our tangent of an angle is our opposite over our adjacent. So there's no hypotenuse in that one. So in the last video we were talking about calculating the length of a side. But what happens when we have the lengths of a side, but we don't have any angles? Okay, so this is what we know. This is a right angle, but we don't know that angle. We don't know this angle. So say they told us that this side is, we'll say 5, and this side.
Anyone has found a single air pod lying around, please bring it to the office. If anybody has found a single air pod, please bring it to the office. Thank you.
Okay, say that was 5 and that was 10, okay? And it was asking me for this angle here. Well, I would go to my ratios and I'd say, okay, I know the opposite side to this angle, theta, and I know my hypotenuse, because my hypotenuse is opposite from this right angle, okay? So I would look at my ratios. Which one has an opposite and a hypotenuse? And there, right at the top, is my opposite and my hypotenuse, because I don't have an adjacent side to that angle, adjacent, touching it, and I don't have the adjacent here for the tan. So I use sine. So what I do is I go sine theta is equal to 5 divided by 10. And now, in order to be able to calculate the actual angle, I have to do the inverse. So sine inverse of 5 over 10 is equal to theta. So the angle theta is equal to sine inverse 5 over 10. Full disclosure, off the top of my head, I don't know how we go from there to here, but that's just what you put into your calculator. So in my calculator, instead of choosing sine, I'm going to actually go second sine and choose the inverse, sine to the power of -1. I'm going to open my bracket, I'm going to go 5 divided by 10, close bracket, and it's going to pump out an angle of 30 degrees. And I have to make sure that my mode on my second mode on my calculator is in degrees and not in radians. Conversely, so say instead, now I know that 90 or 180 minus 90 minus this angle is going to give me this angle. But say I didn't know this angle, and instead they're asking me for angle B there. Well, in this case, I would know that I have an adjacent, the side's touching my angle, but it's not my hypotenuse, that's my adjacent side, and I have my hypotenuse here. So in this case, I would go cos
Mr. John, can you come to the office, please?
of my angle is again 5 over 10. And then theta is going to be cos inverse 5 over 10. Again, full disclosure, I don't know how we got there. I could do some research, but I'm just trying to get you guys through right now. We can talk about that later. The angle then becomes, I do cos inverse in my calculator, which is second cos, open the bracket, 5 divided by 10, and it gives me an angle of 60 degrees, which would make sense because I haven't changed anything about the lengths here. So this is 30 degrees, we know, and this now becomes 60 degrees. I have figured out angles. And then the last situation we could work with was, say I had this side, and I knew this side was 7, and I knew that side was 5, and it was asking me for this angle here. Well, I would look, okay, this angle has an opposite side and it has an adjacent side, but I don't know the hypotenuse length. I don't know this. So I look here, tan has my opposite and my adjacent. So then I go tan theta is equal to 5/7, and then I do that weird inverse thing where my angle is equal to the tan inverse of 5/7. And I do second tan on my calculator to get the tan inverse, open bracket, 5 divided by 7, and that gives me 35.5 degrees. Okay, let's try one more quick example, just to drive it home. Okay, say I had a triangle. Wow, that is just ugly. Okay, triangle like this. Okay, and I know that this is 5 and this is 12, we'll say. Okay, well, I look at this triangle and I'm like, well, where's my right angle? It's right here. So that tells me that whatever it's pointing at, this is my hypotenuse. And then say I'm asking for this angle up here. What is theta? Well, then theta is going to have a hypotenuse and it's going to have an opposite side. So I know that I'm going to be working with sine. So to figure out that angle, I go sine theta is equal to 5 divided by 12. And then so the angle theta is equal to the inverse sine of 5 divided by 12. Put that into my calculator. That gives me 24.6 degrees. So this is 24.6 degrees, this angle. And then I automatically know that this will be, we'll say this is angle B. Angle B is 90 degrees minus 24.6. Because 180 minus 90 here will give 90. So that's our starting point. And then these two have to add up to 90. So that gives me 90 minus 24.6, 65.4. This is 65.4 degrees. Awesome, thank you.